What's up, it's Shedeur Sanders, and I'm standing on business. Sports is a business, so you gotta understand it's not personal, it's more business, and you gotta be able to produce. When you stop producing, then it's like, what are you around for? So you gotta always keep that first and understand that.
His contract, he had an equity clause in his deal with Gatorade. That clause basically said, I'm not just here as a name or a body, I want part of what's being built off of me. I want ownership in the outcome. So that clause essentially just preserved his interest. He walked away with his corrected status in the contract, and he claimed it.
Even though Shedeur Sanders hasn't been lighting up the field recently, his name has somehow become even louder across the entire NFL landscape. While game reps have slowed, his impact hasn't dipped at all. In fact, it's exploded in a way nobody saw coming. This wasn't about touchdowns or stat sheets. This was about power moves, leverage, and long-term vision that most veterans never even consider. Shedeur shocked the football world by finalizing a massive off-the-field deal with Gatorade, and it immediately flipped the conversation. While most rookies are still trying to prove they belong, stressing over depth charts and snap counts, Shedeur was in boardrooms making chess moves. Gatorade reportedly came to the table with a 3-year, $60 million offer, the kind of deal that usually ends negotiations on the spot. For the average athlete, that's a life-changing number. That's security, comfort, and instant legacy money. But Shedeur Sanders has never operated like the average athlete. Instead of grabbing the guaranteed payout, he did something that stunned executives, agents, and analysts all at once. He chose equity over cash. Let that sink in.
Best qualities, I'm always smiling. Yeah, I'm always smiling, that's for sure. I'm heavily involved in the business. I have a vision, and I like to see it be achieved. My purpose and my vision is to be in position to have all the resources.
Shedeur turned down $60 million in guaranteed money and instead secured 3% ownership of Gatorade USA. That's not endorsement thinking, that's ownership thinking. That's long-term wealth strategy that rewrites the rulebook for how athletes approach brand partnerships. And here's the part most people don't fully grasp yet. 3% might sound small to the casual fan, but in the real world, that number is massive. Gatorade USA generates billions in annual revenue year after year, regardless of who's under center on Sundays. Owning even a slice of that machine means Shedeur is positioned to earn checks long after his playing days are over.
Sanders has sold the most amount of jerseys out of any rookie this year, but out of the top 10 jersey seller, 375,000 jerseys to match his NFL contract. Sometimes the brand is bigger than the draft.
This isn't about flashy spending or short-term headlines. This is about generational wealth, about creating a financial footprint that outlives contracts, seasons, and careers. If current projections hold steady, Shedeur Sanders could realistically become one of the youngest billionaire athletes while still actively playing football. Not retired, not post-career, still lining up on Sundays. That idea sounds impossible to most players, but not to Shedeur. This is the same quarterback who already had multi-million-dollar brand offers waiting before he ever took a single NFL snap. His value wasn't created by the league. It existed long before the league ever stamped his name on draft night. And let's not forget, this isn't his first time shaking the market. Shedeur previously locked in a record-setting $125 million deal that sent shockwaves through sports media. Analysts questioned it. Critics doubted it.
Shedeur Sanders, pick number 144, is now the best-selling jersey of the draft class.
No, and this is why he's going to be a Cleveland Brown. I think he's going to be on the roster no matter what. Because at the end of the day, I do think he has a safe floor at quarterback, but those type of things, moving the needle,
People asked if a player without professional reps deserved that kind of backing. But Shedeur never flinched. He understood something most rookies don't. Brands don't just invest in performance, they invest in identity, reach, and influence. The moment he stepped onto the field for his first preseason appearance, everything changed again. Nike activated a special active player clause immediately, doubling the value of his deal on the spot. No delays, no renegotiations, automatic escalation. Just like that, his contract ballooned to an eye-popping $250 million spread over 4 years. And it didn't stop there. Shedeur also secured a historic 50% share of all jersey sales, an unheard-of number for a player this early in his career. While other rookies were celebrating standard endorsement checks, Shedeur was locking in recurring revenue streams that scale with popularity.
With you transitioning from being a college football player to now pro, what's some of the best advice you've gotten on just making that transition and the change in your life?
I would say nothing changed. I approach everything a certain way off rip, and just because your scenery or you go to a different environment, nothing should change. You should have been working as hard as you can. You should have been doing everything the best you can. What was the difference of me translating from HBCU to Power 5, going to Jackson State to Colorado? Colorado. Those are two different levels, but it was the same process. You gotta be process oriented and like always do the same thing to where your success will always improve. When things get weird is when people start trying to change and do all this new, innovative, cool stuff and all this stuff. Like, nah, keep it back to the basics and do what's been helping you be successful. Continue.
That move alone separated him from the pack. He wasn't just the highest paid rookie in NFL history. He became one of the most influential young athletes in the entire sports industry. What made it even more shocking was how quickly he started outpacing other high-profile prospects like Cam Ward and Travis Hunter. Draft position didn't matter. First round or later, Shedeur proved that visibility, timing, and business awareness outweigh where your name is called. This was a loud reminder that the NFL draft is important, but it's not the final definition of success. Contracts fade, but ownership compounds. And Shedeur Sanders is playing a completely different game, one that extends far beyond the field. Sure, draft position and contracts matter, but they are not everything, not even close. What truly separates players is how they leverage their platform, how they negotiate power, and how they position themselves in the marketplace. And this is where Shedeur Sanders has been operating on a completely different frequency. Shedeur never hid his business-first mindset, not even for a second. He made it clear early that football was the engine, not the destination. His influence stretched far beyond the gridiron, and people inside the industry picked up on it fast. This wasn't a player waiting to be marketed. This was a player building his own ecosystem. Beyond the record-breaking Nike deal, Shedeur was quietly stacking moves that most veterans don't attempt until retirement. He launched his own apparel line with full creative control. He introduced a signature barbecue sauce brand that immediately tapped into mainstream culture. These weren't novelty products. They were carefully placed entries into lifestyle markets that scale. And then came the heavyweight collaborations.
It's yours.
Yeah, that's hard. Thank you.
And then that one's for him.
Yeah, it is hard.
Teaming up with EA Sports wasn't just about visibility. It was about permanence in gaming culture. Aligning with Brady through a massive partnership positioned Shedeur as more than an athlete chasing endorsements. He became a brand hub, someone other companies wanted to orbit. Each move was intentional. None of these ventures were side hustles or passion projects. They were strategic plays designed to diversify income streams, protect long-term earning power, and establish Shedeur in multiple industries at once. Fashion, food, gaming, performance. He checked every box. The Brady collaboration alone was estimated to generate roughly $75 million annually. Let that number breathe for a second. That single partnership placed Shedeur among the most marketable young figures in all of sports, not just football. That kind of pull doesn't come from stats alone. It comes from reach, identity, and trust. But what really separated Shedeur from the pack wasn't just the money. It was his mindset. He stayed grounded in a simple philosophy. Perform at the highest level on the field, then dominate in business off it. No shortcuts, no confusion, no wasted momentum. Shedeur understood something that too many players learn too late. Athletic careers are short, unpredictable, and fragile. Business empires, when built correctly, can last forever. That awareness shaped every decision he made, and it's why his trajectory looks nothing like the average rookie's. So what actually fueled Shedeur Sanders' massive success? It wasn't hype, and it wasn't luck. It came down to one revolutionary concept: prime equity. This clause, crafted by none other than Deion Sanders, changed everything.
We're obviously making this special episode of Too Legendary at the Gatorade Lab. This lab is about giving athletes a competitive edge. What do you do off the field that makes you elite?
I would say, listen, that's the thing. I don't know everything. I only know what I know. So I say I do a lot of self-reflecting and listening to those, that's in positions. Those have done it before. Those have been successful in any way. I haven't made as many mistakes in my life because I learned from those people around me. And I'm able to get wisdom from pops, from the resources that we have, from seeing other people's situations. So I haven't made a lot of those same.
Prime equity ensured that Shedeur retained full control over his image and likeness rights. Something that is extremely rare in professional sports, especially for a young player just entering the league. Deion knew the system inside and out. He lived it, thrived in it, and also saw how often it worked against players. Normally, once an athlete signs with a team, those image rights become restricted. Endorsements, appearances, and brand deals all require approval, and profits are often split. That structure limits creativity and caps earning potential. It turns players into assets instead of partners. But Deion wasn't about to let Shedeur walk into that setup unprotected. With prime equity in place, Shedeur had complete autonomy. He could negotiate his own deals, partner with any brand he believed in, and retain 100% of the profits. No middlemen cutting slices, no organizations slowing the process down. That level of control is almost unheard of in professional sports, especially for a rookie. It gave Shedeur flexibility, speed, and leverage. 3 things that separate good business players from elite ones. While others waited for approvals and league clearance, Shedeur moved freely. While others split revenue, he scaled ownership. This wasn't just smart, it was revolutionary. And that's why Shedeur Sanders isn't just viewed as a quarterback anymore. He's seen as a blueprint, a case study, proof that modern athletes don't have to choose between football and business. They can dominate both if they play it right. The numbers almost didn't sound real, but they absolutely were. Shedeur Sanders was already cashing in at an elite level from his image rights before most rookies even figured out their locker assignments. On top of that, he shattered expectations by becoming the first rookie ever to generate a jaw-dropping $15 million in jersey sales before officially playing a single NFL regular season game. And remember, this came from a 5th-round pick. That detail matters. This wasn't a top 5 selection with league-back hype. This was a player who forced the market to respond to him. That level of demand was unheard of and completely reset the standard for what newcomers could realistically achieve. The merchandise didn't just sell, it disappeared. Jerseys were flying off shelves because fans weren't just buying fabric and numbers. They were buying into a movement. They were buying belief in the Shedeur Sanders brand. And while critics kept questioning his draft position and path to the league, Shedeur was stacking proof. He wasn't only showing flashes on the field, he was building one of the most profitable personal brands the NFL had ever seen at this stage of a career. Those early merchandise milestones weren't just sales figures. They were statements. They showed control, awareness, and a deep understanding of how powerful a name can be when it's managed correctly. Shedeur knew exactly what he had, and more importantly, he knew how to monetize it without waiting for permission. That's a rare skill, especially for a rookie. And the momentum didn't slow down there. Shedeur also teamed up with Exponential as one of their ambassadors, adding another heavyweight partnership to his growing portfolio. In a recent interview, he made his outlook crystal clear, and it wasn't sugar-coated. Sports isn't just a game, it's a business. That wasn't a slogan, it was a strategy. And Shedeur leaned fully into that reality. For him, success isn't measured only by touchdowns, wins, or highlight reels. It's also about opportunity creation, results off the field, and projects that leave a lasting footprint. That perspective separated him from players who wait until retirement to think about life after football. Shedeur wasn't waiting. He was building his empire in real time, while still in his prime, while the spotlight was brightest. He refused to rely on a single paycheck or a single contract. Instead, he positioned himself as the ultimate hybrid, athlete and entrepreneur. A player who understood that football opens doors, but vision determines how far you walk through them. By creating multiple income streams, Shedeur spread his influence across industries and insulated himself from the unpredictability of the game. That diversified approach wasn't accidental, it was deliberate planning. Apparel lines, food products, tech partnerships, equity-based deals. Every move added another layer of security and leverage. No panic, no scrambling, no dependence on one source of income. If football changes tomorrow, the empire still stands. If circumstances shift, the brand keeps moving. That's real long-term vision. Shedeur Sanders wasn't chasing short-term validation. He was building infrastructure. He was treating his career like a business portfolio, not a lottery ticket. And that mindset is exactly why his story doesn't fit the traditional rookie narrative. This wasn't about waiting his turn. This was about creating his own lane. While others focused solely on proving they belonged, Shedeur proved he could scale. He didn't just play the game. He understood it at every level. The Gatorade deal wasn't an accident, and it definitely wasn't a flex for headlines. It was the clearest example yet of Shedeur Sanders' forward-thinking mindset. While most players would have sprinted to sign a $60 million check, Shedeur slowed the process down and zoomed out. He wasn't focused on the number. He was focused on position. Shedeur understood something critical that separates players from power players. Cash stops when contracts end, but ownership keeps paying forever. By securing equity in Gatorade, he positioned himself to profit from every bottle sold, every new market entered, and every innovation launched. That's not endorsement money. That's participation money. This wasn't a 3-year deal dressed up as a headline. This was a lifetime investment. As Gatorade continues to expand globally, Shedeur benefits without needing to renegotiate, rebrand, or reintroduce himself. That's compounding value, and that's how real wealth is built. What makes this move even more impressive is the timing. Shedeur isn't a decade-long veteran cashing in on nostalgia. He's not leaning on championships or legacy status. He's a young player still developing, still growing, still learning the league. Yet, he's already operating with executive-level awareness. Most players wait until year 10 to start thinking this way. Shedeur started before year 1 even fully unfolded. That level of maturity doesn't show up on stat sheets, but it shows up everywhere else. This wasn't luck, and it wasn't privilege. It was preparation. He saw the system, studied the patterns, and chose leverage over comfort. That's rare, especially in a league built on short careers and fast decisions. And that's exactly what separates the truly elite from everyone else. Talent gets you noticed, but vision keeps you relevant. Shedeur isn't just planning for next season, he's planning for the next generation. He's rewriting the definition of what it means to be a professional athlete in the modern era. No longer boxed into player-only lanes, Shedeur is proving you can dominate your craft while also mastering the business side. For years, athletes were told to focus only on the game and let others handle the rest. Shedeur flipped that script. He focused on the game and took control of the rest. He's showing young players that you don't have to wait for permission to think bigger. You don't have to choose between greatness on the field and greatness off it. You can build both at the same time if you're intentional. This is bigger than money. This is about agency, about controlling your future instead of reacting to it. Shedeur built a structure that protects him no matter how the game evolves. If football goes left, the business stands. If the league changes, the ownership stays. That's security most players never touch. And that's why this moment matters. Not because of the dollar signs, but because of the precedent. The next wave of athletes is watching closely. Shedeur Sanders didn't just secure a deal, he sent a message that today's athletes can be smarter, more prepared, and more powerful than ever before. This wasn't a gamble, it was calculated confidence. And it shows that if you play it right, your impact doesn't end when the clock hits 0. It multiplies.